Hello. For my project, I wanted to do the salt marshes of Asseteage Island. This is one of my favorite places to go for vacation. It's also one of the places that I've kind of explored the most. So here's a picture that I took last summer while I was on vacation. I thought this would give a good idea of what they represent. Um, so there's going to be the grass beds you see, there's the water, and then even in the background, you'll see the forest that make up some of the marshlands or some of the in between the salt marshes and the beaches of Assateague Island. So where is it located? Assateague Island is a 37-mile long barrier island on the eastern part of Maryland. It is on the national seashore, and the salt marshes themselves are found on the western part or the bay side of Assateague Island. Characteristics. They're going to have high salinity in both soil and water, mainly salt water, and there's going to be brackish water, but even then, it's going to be a very high salt content for brackish water. And the marshes themselves are going to flood as the tides come and go. Is it protected? Both the land and the animals within it are protected under the National Park Service. Now, there is a national park side of the island, and there's also a state park side of the island. So it's going to get protection from both the National Park Service and the state park. Soils. Oftentimes, the soils have low oxygen. This is called hypoxia. It's also going to make a really nasty smell whenever you're trying to wade through the mud. And the soils are mainly made up of deep mud and peat. Plant life. Because the soils have the characteristics they have, the only plants that really grow here are going to be salt tolerant grasses. So if you see on the right part of the slide, there are 4 pictures, and the first of which is the salt marsh cord grass. Then you have the salt meadow cord grass. There's marsh spike grass and black needle rush. There are going to be plants here and there, also some sporadic trees, but it's mainly going to be made up of these 4 grasses. Mammals. The marshlands of Assateague Island do have a few more interesting mammals, the most famous of which is going to be the horses or ponies that make up of it. The ponies are going to spend most of their days in the marshes grazing, but they'll also spend a little bit of time at the beach, but it's mainly they spend their time at the meadows. There's also going to be the Sika deer. I've never seen one there, but they are there. They are an invasive species. There's also the endangered Delmarva squirrel that's only found on the Delmarva Peninsula. And then there's going to be your regular raccoons, possums, and red fox and mammals like that, the more ordinary ones. Reptiles. So I have a very big picture of a diamondback terrapin that I've seen here. I think we named him Terry. But there are 6 species of snake that call the island home, including the northern water snake and the eastern hognose. And there's a lot of species of turtles that reside here. So there's 3 species of sea turtle. There are a handful of freshwater turtles, and then there is the diamondback terrapin, as we see, which can most commonly and often be seen in the bay side of the island because they are only found in brackish water. Lizards are rarely found here, but eastern fence lizards have been reported in the marshes. Invertebrates. There are many mollusks, including mussels, oysters, clams, periwinkles, that can be found in the marshes, and they're kind of spread out. It's another thing that I'll get into later that draws people in. Different species of crab, like blue crabs and ghost crabs. I even think there's a few fiddler crabs that can be found all across the island, including the marshlands. During certain seasons, the horseshoe crabs will be found. They're one of my favorites that I like to find. You can just see them slowly crawling on the shore on both the beach and the marsh side. Birds. So birds are one of the main reasons that people will come to Assateague Island. It is located along the Atlantic Migratory Flyway. The marshes are often rich with bird life. This is going to be a very lush area. It's full of areas for these birds to be hunting. Osprey are a very common sight. They're located all across the eastern shore of Maryland. And because of the protectedness and just the abundance of life, osprey are often seen hunting here. Wading birds are a very common sight in the wetlands. You're going to see the great egrets and the snowy egrets and other species of heron. Shorebirds like the willet and the piping plover. And then there's also different species of waterfowl, such as the brant that I have in the top right corner of the slide, and many different species of duck. So if you look in the pictures, in the bottom right, we have the great egret, and above that, we have the willet. Those were two that I was able to get a picture of. And then, of course, the osprey and the brant. Birding, if you haven't been birding at Asseteage Island, it's a really beautiful place to go. And if you go at the right time of the year, you're going to see these massive flocks of migratory birds. Fish. Many species of fish come into the marshes to breed. One in particular is the summer flounder. Many species of fish will come to the island, but not as many will come into the bay side for their breeding. But summer flounder are one of the ones that prefer the bay side. Recreational opportunities. This is one of the biggest things for Assateague Island. I love to camp there. That's a really big thing. Anyone that wants to camp there, you have to register months in advance. It's so popular. Because of the bird life, as I said earlier, it is very popular for birding. Many people will just come down here to the bay and they'll catch crabs, clams, and oysters, and then they'll have themselves a cookout. One of the parking lots is even just paved with clamshells. My personal favorite is in the top right. It's kayaking. There are places you can rent a kayak or you can bring your kayak, and you can just have a nice, peaceful, relaxing kayak trip across the bay. It's going to be very calm, very easy, and you're going to see such an amazing diversity of wildlife. In the middle picture, that is one of the shacks. I believe that's a nature educational spot, but you can also rent clam rakes and other things like that. It really wants people to just get outside and explore the island. Thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed this presentation.